Hi, this is Jim Steinman. My new album is Bad for Good, and I've tried to make it even more spectacular. Nah, that sounds pushy.
Alright, Greg and fellow Lipstick panel attendees. This is Joseph DeGoyler, one of the co-hosts of Ultima Final Fantasy, the Ultimate Final Fantasy podcast, and the Godzilla podcast. I just sat down and I listened to this record, Bad for Good. Sorry, yes, Bad for Good. Looking at Bad Out of Hell's Wikipedia page right now. And I gotta say, about 4 minutes into the album, into its first song, I had a realization. I go, hey, this sounds like Meatloaf, but with a singer that's about 50% less skilled. And that's kind of the view I have for almost the entire album. Now, the actual, the song, Bad for Good, and most of the other songs on this album, pretty standard Meatloaf / Steinman. It's pretty standard fare for that guy, and I think it's pretty well done. The lyrics are extremely over the top, but that's okay for kind of what it is. I mean, you kind of expect it after seeing the album artwork. But the standouts certainly are the title track Bad for Good, which I thought was pretty good, and the instrumental only part of the album called The Storm, which I thought was as a fan of big, like, brassy kind of rock orchestra stuff, I gotta say I did dig The Storm. All that being said, I do think Dance in My Pants may be one of the worst things I've ever heard in my life. Anyway, that is that is my review of this album that was probably meant to be Meatloaf's, and then the songwriter decided to sing over it instead, and, well, he's alright, but he ain't no Meatloaf.
Hi, I'm Greg. I'm the lead singer for Lipstick Generation.
And I'm Steve. I'm the bassist for Lipstick Generation.
And welcome to the Lipstick Panel. Today on the Lipstick Panel, we have sadly reached the conclusion to our epic Jim Steinman series.
Why do we need to introduce ourselves after 6 previous episodes? Is there anyone listening to, Bad for Good Part 7 that missed all of the other intros? And
previously on Bad for Good. So, I mean, this is our wrap-up, our epilogue. It began with that beautiful cold open of Joseph DeGoyler, who turned in his recording late, talking about how the album was like Meatloaf, but in his opinion, not as good of a singer.
Which sounds like a pretty apt description.
Yep, so thank you, Joe, for...
The dude who wrote songs for Meatloaf and isn't as good of a singer as Meatloaf made an album that sounds like Meatloaf with a less good singer.
Yeah, so, hey, you know what? Thanks, Joe, for at least listening to it. I listened to your favorite album, and Justice for All. You listened to mine. They're both weird, inaccessible, with really long songs, and people having big gripes with the production. So, hey.
Huzzah!
We're not so different, you and I. So, yeah, Steve, how did you feel about this Bad for Good epic series that we did?
I've spent more time talking about Bad for Good in the last month and a half than I have listening to the album, including the time that
you had to learn it,
learning the album and playing the album.
I feel like that's not actually true, because think about it, we had to practice for those shows.
Yeah, not much. Okay, fair amount.
Yeah,
but
yeah, so really, maybe equivalent, about
maybe
the same. But yeah, so I have notes on things I forgot to mention in our Bad for Good episodes.
Oh, good.
So, a couple quick things. I appreciate how Jim Steinman is still a relevant part of pop culture.
Yeah.
As of this year, the Detective Pikachu trailer had Holding Out for a Hero in the trailer. So
you did mention Detective Pikachu featuring Holding Out for a Hero, I think.
I did?
At some point.
Well, maybe I just mentioned it to you.
You mentioned a bunch of movies having Holding Out for a Hero. Nope, it was Shrek.
It was Shrek 2, which had Holding Out for a Hero. But still, another great movie with a endearing CGI character having Jim Steinman songs. That's how you make your way to the top, baby.
I don't think that's actually is how you make your way to the top.
But yeah, so this is our epilogue, our wrap-up of the series. There are things I want to touch on. I've been making lots of jokes about the music of Jim Steinman, but I will admit that I get into this music very sincerely. The romanticism, the heroism, the desire to give life meaning, saying, hey, you're not going anywhere in your life. You've got nothing to do and even less to lose, so you might as well do something awesome. Like, that's part of the appeal of Jim Steinman for me. The theatricality and the stubborn refusal to take reality seriously. I admire that from Jim Steinman. Billy Morris once told me that out of all the artists that I like, the one I was most similar to was Jim Steinman. It's like, yeah, because, you write these really long songs and you can't really sing. I'm like, aw, thanks, bro.
Huzzah.
Huzzah. But yeah, I'm glad we did this epic multi-part series. It was super self-indulgent, so
it was.
This is what happens when I don't book a birthday show for myself. We do a 7-part series on Jim Steinman instead.
Ugh.
So I guess next year I really need to book a birthday show so you don't have to do this again, Steve.
Yeah, you do.
Otherwise, we'll have to do Bad for Good parts 8 through 14.
Oh, jeez. Let's not.
But yeah, so we've got some cool bonus features in this epilogue episode.
Ooh.
So for people who care, we've got a little bit of an interview with Jim Steinman on the album when he was doing press for it with an Australian radio station, him just talking about some of his thoughts on the album. And there's just some really good commentary, especially on the writing of Rock and Roll Dreams Come Through. So look forward to that. And also, for the diehard Lipstick Panel fans, all 8 of you, we have our preamble from the Bad for Good episode. So when we were just waiting for everyone to show up on Skype and just chatting about bullshit before the episode, we've got that for you. So this is like the bonus features episode. We've got a Jim Steinman interview. We've got the behind the scenes of the podcast. So yes, the epilogue, the epic conclusion, it's just special features.
Yeah. I feel like the diehard fans who want to hear the bonus preamble from that 3-hour episode are probably largely the people who were on the episode and were there for it.
I mean, hey, there's some great... We talk about Game of Thrones. All you Game of Thrones fans, we get into it. Talk about some Game of Thrones. Talk about all kinds of stuff. We find out that Mike turned into a dog. There's some great stuff you don't want to miss with the bonus content. And look, we all know with podcasting, the tangents are the best part. You
It's
like
true.
when they go off topic and are no longer talking about the thing you clicked on. Oh man, I'm so glad they talked about cigarettes for 30 minutes or whatever, random bullshit podcasters talk about.
I think that's called sponsored content.
Yeah. But yeah, so enjoy the special features. That's going to be the rest of the episode unless you have anything to add, Steve.
Nope.
All right. Well, this is the conclusion of our Jim Steinman series. Thank you so much and enjoy the bonus content.
See you next year.
The marker of when the show goes downhill is when they no longer have Martin's dialogue for Tyrion.
Yeah.
Like that's like the hard cutoff.
Once it passes Martin, there's still some good moments.
No,
but
there still are, but like they didn't know how to write Tyrion.
I don't think they knew how to write most of them.
Hello?
Yeah, but especially him.
Hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
Going all right.
Now, is it the lipstick generation panel now, or is it still remaining the lipstick panel? Is
Oh,
that
I didn't even think about
We're
that.
still calling it the lipstick panel because, I mean, whatever.
I mean, I support that, but I just didn't know if you were changing all platforms.
It's easy enough to find.
Is Mr. Cool now Mr. Cool generation? Like how far does this go?
Everything's generation.
You just added generation after everything.
Mr. Cool generation.
So
X.
My name
it's
is
actually
now Greg Troyan generation.
It's actually the lipstick panel generation. Lipstick generation panel generation.
Hey,
All right.
which generation does Mr. Cool belong to? Is he Generation X or is he a millennial?
Honestly, he's a cat, so he's probably Gen Z.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he's super old and already dead.
Well,
I mean, you know,
Or possibly whatever comes after Gen Z.
how long has Mr. Cool been around?
I think I first developed Mr. Cool in 2009.
2009. Okay, so he doesn't have that many years left.
Yeah, 10-year-old
So-
cat, he is long in the tooth.
What are you gonna do when he dies?
I don't know, just parade around in his corpse.
Mr.
Okay.
Cool regeneration.
Oh,
there
got
you
it.
go.
Hey, maybe that could be your name of your next record. It's called Regeneration, and then it's you as zombies, but you're
I mean, considering the point...
That'd be our all covers album.
Considering
Get it? Regeneration?
the point of the whole rebranding thing was that, like, people didn't like the nerd thing all that much. So...
I mean...
maybe a zombie-themed album is ill-advised.
Yeah, given how much better the first one sold than the second one, we're like, yeah. I mean, let me put it this way. The first one sold well enough where we could justify having a special edition of it and re-release it.
But hang on, I got a comment, though. Zombies aren't necessarily nerd. I think a lot of people like zombies. So everybody's a big fan of zombies.
I mean, they're pretty mainstream right now, but they're still,
Yes.
like, a little bit fringe to, like, be
People-
super
Although,
into it.
honestly, if we went like the horror punk thing, that actually sells pretty well. It's just that bright and colorful doesn't sell in rock in this decade.
And no offense to you religious guys, but religion is based off, a lot of it's based off of zombification, right? So...
I mean, generally we try to avoid using the word, zombie for when referencing Jesus, not using the Z word.
Okay.
But, I mean, yeah, a lot of people say that. Zombie Jesus Day and whatnot. I think just, like, zombies weren't really a thing when the New Testament was being written.
Yeah. Otherwise, they might have gone for the head.
Right?
So, Mike, did you catch that Game of Thrones finale? Oh no, we lost Mike.
I think I heard a dog in the background, so I think his microphone's still on.
So he turned into a dog?
He just wandered away. He turned into a very distant dog.
Damn.
It's my favorite yoga position. Distant dog. It's like where you do downward facing dog, but you're somewhere else. And
Oh.
somebody else is doing it instead of you.
It's very complicated.
It's true. Yoga's never meant to be simple.
This is a weird ranking we're doing right now.
It's true.
Yeah. The ranking of when the other guests show up.
Well, considering we're waiting for you at this point, all of our guests, except you.
Yes, I apologize. I stepped out of the room to discard the plate of chips
Dog.
and dip.
Oh.
Discard
But yeah,
the dog.
and I also turned into a dog.
And then you got stuck. You couldn't open the door again.
It's alright.
But no, I watched the first two episodes of Game of Thrones like 5 years ago. It is a show I would like to get around to
Oh, man,
one day.
he's-
I'm just not there. Yeah.
Oh, he's way behind.
Yeah.
Not even close.
Spoilers, everyone dies.
Yeah, I know there's like a red wedding like somewhere midway through. That sounds like half the people died on that one, but yeah. So I'm that's actually kind of the reason now why I didn't get into it. I almost want like enough years to go by where
You forget.
like my memories of spoilers are like a little hazy or vague, so it's like a little more fresh for me. I'm like, oh shit,
He's
like,
gonna wait till he develops dementia, and then he starts
Right.
watching it, and he's
And it's
constantly
like, I don't
forgetting
remember
it.
what any of these characters' names
Yeah.
are. I forget episode by episode.
After every episode, he's like, "What show am I watching?" That's a good way to do it.
I think the trick with why I didn't mind spoilers for that show is that I assumed any given character was not safe. So, like, when someone spoiled, like, this character died, like, oh, well, yeah, I figured that would happen at some point.
Trick is you watch any show for long enough, everybody dies, right?
No, man.
The Friends 80-year reunion, they're all dead.
I was about to say, I watched the Seinfeld. Nobody ever died on
The
that.
Jetsons. Well,
I feel,
Well, and that's not true.
I feel like that's
but
a more of a
Seinfeld,
modern.
Yeah, his wife died.
with
Yeah,
the
I was like,
envelopes.
that's a bad choice because somebody actually did die.
I feel like it's more of a modern concept, which I really dig, where less characters on shows are safe.
Yeah.
I feel like that didn't happen decades ago.
Well, man, I mean, decades ago, nobody was doing serialized dramas. That's
Well, yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
you're both wrong
point.
in that soap operas have still existed.
Well, real shows, I guess.
But some
Real shows. Soap operas are some of the realest shows in the world, in that those people
No,
are
I get
making 300 episodes a year.
Dude, soap operas are like
I know, that is impressive. I'm like, they work the hardest shit.
Right? Everybody else are a bunch of lazy chumps.
But soap operas are like comic books. Like nobody actually dies and is like dead. Everybody they come back.
Yeah, they're
as
always coming back or
robots
twins
or something.
yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, just like Jon Snow.
Oh, dude, spoilers.
Spoiler! Oh, he's trying to forget.
I like that. Like the only person who hasn't watched the show is the only one who doesn't seem to care.
He cares.
I actually don't care.
I care.
You've heard my rant about spoilers.
It's true, I have.
Spoilers destroy everything.
Spoilers don't matter.
Spoilers destroy the.
No,
the
they
work.
don't. They
I mean,
don't.
Spoilers destroy everything around me. Steam.
Yes. I
Yeah, Greg, I will say, like, out of all of the hottest of your takes, one of the ones with the highest temperature is your take on spoilers. You're like, oh yeah, if a movie's been out for more than 45 minutes, it's okay to post spoilers on Facebook.
Well, no, okay, what I'm saying is, look, I understand that culturally people for some reason give a shit, but I think it's dumb, and I have no concern. If someone posts a spoiler for a movie I haven't seen, I'm like, all right, well, whatever. That'll make me decide if I'm interested in seeing it.
I get that, but you're a nice enough person that you know that other people care, so you're not going to destroy it for other people.
It's
Sometimes, maybe,
But
you know.
but there are lots of people out there that don't care, and they think that nobody should care, and they think it's funny when they ruin it for somebody.
I mean, honestly, I do think it's funny. It's just that I know enough of my friends, like, give a shit about it where I would piss them off, where I just don't want to deal with the annoyance. So it's less about me being nice and more being like, oh man, everyone's going to bitch at me if I spoil it and make all the great jokes.
The hassle of being a jerk to everybody isn't worth the joy of being a jerk to everybody.
It's not.
That's what it sounds like.
No, it's not worth the joy of the lulzy joke. And so I have to weigh out, like, how good is this joke? Is it good enough to justify everyone being pissed at me? With spoilers, most of the time, it's no. Because there are people like you, Steve Edwards. I could make really awesome troll-worthy spoiler jokes, but I'm like, he's gonna be so upset.
I don't think Steve has anything to spoil right now, so you can
But
spoil
no, I'm saying
everything.
I had the ability to spoil Endgame and Game of Thrones before he...
And Game of Thrones wasn't even...
And Game of Thrones.
End Game of Thrones, yeah. Game of Thrones wasn't as big of a deal. Like, obviously, Endgame was a huge deal to me just because of how much I'm into it. Like I said, I didn't hate the major beats. The story beats were fine. It's just how they happened that was bad. And
They were a
the
little
execution.
rushed.
I just
Very
can't believe he turned into a cyborg at the end. That was so fucking weird.
Well,
There
that
were
was
no
the coolest
robots
part, yeah.
for the rest of the show. Oh, spoilers, Mike.
Yeah. Well, that, and then when the UFO came down.
Yeah, and like they just, they started playing Doctor. We're like, fuck yeah.
Hey, you know what? If Indiana Jones can have a UFO in it, then Game of Thrones can too. That's all I know.
Hey,
Oh, hello.
Morning.
hi.
Oh, we get to look at
Oh,
him
that's a
too.
face full of Victor.
Oh, it went straight to video. Cool.
Mine does that too. It's terrible. I get a whole big chunk of myself, and it's awful.
We were just debating the ending of Game of Thrones. And by
Oh.
debating, more just like casually discussing and not really being that heated.
One person here hasn't seen it, so we're not really ruining it too much.
We're
Okay.
We're trying
We're
not
in
to
a
talk
fair
about the cyborgs.
So, I've only seen 2 episodes of Game of Thrones.
There you go. He's,
Oh, you
There's
guys
another-
are
The one,
you guys are
the one
perfect
with the
buds.
coffee cup, and the last episode.
So the one with the water bottle.
yeah.
Yes,
Excellent.
I've seen the only 2 mistakes they've ever made.
The only 2 mistakes.
That's the only, yeah.
Season 7 and Season 8.
Oh shit!
Which is true, though.
Season 5?
No, season 5 is fine.
Was that the one based on the book that sucked?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Nice.
I haven't read the book.
You guys
so-
can hear the drops out there, right?
Hindsight is always 2020.
That means no.
Yes.
Okay.
Is the remarkably sexist drivel spouted by intentional, or is it just a horrible mistake?
What's the dude screaming? I can't. Kiss. Kiss. Oh, okay.
You know that band that we mostly talk about on the
Oh,
show.
there's a band called Kiss?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Kiss Generation.
Yeah, Kiss.
We've done 1 or 2 episodes on Kiss Generation.
There's a couple of them.
I would
Yeah,
say
it's
they're
really
my 4th
weird how they
favorite band.
pivoted from like a cock rock band to like this really like nerdy band that's super respectful of women and just sings about food all the time. It's a really odd pivot for them.
Well, Steve, didn't you realize that they had like 3 pizza albums in a row?
It's true, they did.
And then Carnival of Souls broke the streak, and then Steve's like, I don't like Kiss anymore.
Right, they were like, we're super angsty and serious and don't sing about pizza anymore.
I got an idea. Let's not talk about Kiss for, like, the whole show.
All right.
That's probably not going to happen.
Okay.
We'll do our best.
I will literally bring up Kiss. Yeah.
Yeah, let's just talk about the Beatles and Thin Lizzy.
That's fine.
And, yeah, got to mention the White Album and also Gish.
That was the first one I did with you. Has that been a year at this point?
Yeah,
Probably close.
Yeah, and that, I mean, look, I still stand by that album isn't very catchy. Like, you said that on the episode.
Yeah, that's true.
It's just like, hey, this album has no hooks. Why doesn't Greg like it? It doesn't have hooks.
Here's a question. Are we actually going now? Is this part of the show?
I mean, I've been recording
Okay.
since
All
I
right, you
started
guys
the
ready
Skype
to do
call.
this?
Yep.
All of this preamble will be a bonus episode.
Oh, yeah, you wanted 7 episodes out of this, didn't you?
Yep.
This will be the episode that doesn't be up, that's not uploaded, or no one has an option to listen to.
All right. Hi, I'm Greg. I'm the lead. Damn it, Steve. Are you just going to interrupt me when you're
should.
out?
No, I was interrupting Steve, but you
can't
started
interrupt
talking
me
before
after
I
I'm-
finished pressing the button.
You can't interrupt me after my joke's already not landed.
I have yet to see a drummer who gets, the timing on the rim shots correct, so.
All right, and
Cut.
Good episode, everybody. Thank you all for coming out. Where can we find you online?
all right. I do
The
admire.
Matrix.
I admire the ability to derail just us starting the episode.
Look, I did my part by not knowing what time zones are.
And go.
Left in the Dark is the song that closes off the album, and I love that jealous lover monologue that opens the song.
That definitely is a chilling song, I think. That song's pretty dangerous, too. We worked with a guy who was working on the album when we were doing it, one of the engineers who were working on the basic tracks, and that song affected him so much that he just about tried to kill himself one night because his girlfriend had left him, and all he did was go home and listen to that song about 30 times, and then just about drove his car over a cliff and came back shaking the next morning. And I tell people that if you're real depressed, don't go near that song, but if you really want to get your feelings out, it's a good one to listen to, because there I was just trying to write one of the most explicit, raw, and passionate songs I could about jealousy, because that seems to be one of the most explicit, raw, and passionate emotions anyone feels. I mean, you figure people start feeling that emotion from the time they're 4 days old, really.
Right.
And I just really wanted to write an explicit song about jealousy and, rip it up right to, expose all the nerve endings the way it really feels. And that's the scariest song, I think, on the record. And I had... Singing that was the most fun for me because I really got off singing that one. I was really shaking during that one. I like that.
I love the way you write of the look of an unfaithful woman. I think I bet you still got a trace of his love in your eyes, and you still got his eyes on your mind. The only other description that stands out to me as much as that is the way a Sanford and Townsend song described the same thing when they said she had in her eyes smoke from a distant fire. Remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that song. Yeah. This is a better line, though. What can I tell you?
Yeah.
I like that one, but this is better. Well, time, progress, time marches on. We all learn.
Sure.
I'm sure if they wrote one now, it'd even be even better.
But
Whatever happened to them?
I don't know. They had a couple of albums, and they were really fantastic, but they just sort of, gone into the great rock and roll closet of unknowns. I don't know. They just, disappeared.
Well, if they ever come out of the closet, let me know.
Hey, listen, on that song, that's a spectacular orchestral arrangement. There were French horns in there. And
Yeah, I'll tell you there's French stuff in there. French horns, French pastries are in there, French fries, a lot of French things in there. There's a French kiss going on in the studio, I noticed.
Woo!
No, we used a 62-piece orchestra on that. And the guy that did the arrangement on that is a guy named Charlie Colello, who's amazing arranger, had an amazing career. He arranged all the Four Seasons records, all those old singles by the Four Seasons. He also did the orchestral arrangement for Springsteen on Jungle Land, the string introduction, all the strings through the song, all the orchestral things for Springsteen. The guy's brilliant. He's done a lot of stuff. I mean, I could never name it all. It's just tons of stuff. And he did that arrangement. He really got off on that song. He was going through a divorce at the time, and it really affected him personally. And anyone who's breaking up with someone, that's a strong song to listen to. And I was real happy with the result of the orchestra in that, because whenever I used an orchestra on the album, I always wanted the orchestra to sound like, if Led Zeppelin could play orchestral instruments. I never wanted the orchestra to sound tame or polite. I always wanted to sound like they were bashing away at their instruments, just like, Jimmy Page would bash away, or Pete Townsend at his guitar. And it really does sound to me like those violinists and those horn players, they're really bashing away. I mean, it's hard to bash away at a French horn, but whatever you do to a French horn, that's the equivalent of bashing. I mean, you blow really hard. Sounds to me like they're just blowing their guts out. It's a pleasant phrase, for an orchestral player. I really blew my guts out on that one.
Very subtle as a flying mallet.
Exactly.
I guess the theme of our whole long weekend here in Sydney is Rock and Roll Dreams Come Through. That to me, that's one of the magic songs which is on the EP that comes with Bad for Good. And you may think this is a strange interpretation, but to me, you could be singing to a woman, and the woman is rock and roll. I mean, the lyrics there to me almost sound as though you're singing about the whole thing of rock and roll, and it's an image of a woman.
Well, that makes real sense. That's nice. That's a nice interpretation of it. It's about both. It's really a song to rock. It's like a hymn to rock and roll, and it's also like a song to a girl. But it's really mostly about rock and roll and how it can save you at times when you think you can't be saved. And I think it's also the key line to me in that is that it's not rock and roll dreams come true, but it's rock and roll dreams come through. Because that really makes a difference to me, in that I think the greatest dreams that you can have, it's not really important that they come true or not, because you could wait your whole life for a dream to come true. What seemed really important to me is that a dream be there when you need it. It's just something that you constantly fall back on, that you always have it there. And it's just so important that a dream comes through, that it's always there when you need it. And that's one thing about rock and roll. It's always there when you need it. It's not that it may never change your life. It may never make, a lot of things happen for you that you want, but it's always there to provide that bit of excitement and make your blood run a little faster and the pulse go a little stronger. And it seems to me the whole point of that song is that, a dream doesn't have to come true. It just has to always be there. It's just like, when you get in a car to go cruising, it doesn't matter where you're going. You don't have to have a destination. It's just a movement. It's just putting your foot on the gas and moving. And it seems to me it's the same thing with a dream. It's just getting inside the dream and letting the dream take you somewhere. It doesn't even matter if you get where the dream ends or get where you're going. It's just being part of a dream and relying on it for strength and excitement. And I think that's what, rock and roll does.
Sure. To me, that song also, perhaps I could suggest, is part, perhaps a little bit of the Jim Steinman philosophy of life.
Yeah, it sounds like this. I wouldn't recommend anyone using the Jim Steinman philosophy of life, but it's not bad to listen to. Yeah, I'll tell you, the opening lines of that song are a pretty good theme for the whole record. I think you can't run away forever, but there's nothing wrong with getting a good head start. I really think that's a good motto for life. I sort of think that sums up the whole record. You can't run away forever, but you might as well just get a good head start on it and just stay one step ahead. The old line, don't look behind you because something might be gaining on you. It's kind of like the album's about to always be moving. I think that's why, you can say it's rebellious and tough and defiant. But I think ultimately what it's about is action. I think of every song on the album as being a sort of call to action, and basically saying, stop any passivity or stop not moving. Just there should always be action where there is none. It should, turn on the gas at any time. Turn on the ignition. It's about never stalling, really. It's about always keeping moving and never letting the blood stop flowing for a second. And in that sense, I think of it as a real action-oriented album. It never sits still, lyrically or musically.
I must say, just on a musical description of that song, it's kind of like Phil Spector meets Jim Steinman with producer Jimmy Iovine at the controls, complete with castanets.
Well, it wouldn't be complete without castanets. That song's interesting too, because every single person who's on the album is all on that song. I mean, from every cut, it was the only time they were all together. I mean, Todd Rundgren's there, Davy Johnston's there, and Carla DeVito, Ellen Foley, the E Street Band guys are there, the members of Todd Rundgren's band's there, Blues Brothers horn section is there, the New York Philharmonic. I mean, you name it, and it's there. I'm not sure that, I don't know if Lassie was there, but if I looked hard enough, I could probably find Lassie and Raquel Welch, too. I mean, not together. I'm not implying that Lassie and Raquel Welch have anything going together, but it's just we put everything on that song. That's like the big finale. Just got everything on that song.
I must say,
I think that. Well, I was just going to say that to me that song is should be sung in a rock and roll church if there was one. I always see it in some sort of altar. It just seems like a prayer to me, like a rock and roll prayer. I get real affected by that song. That's the real sum up of the whole album.
I must say, because we're running out of time here, I've got a few more questions I'd like to ask you. And the one thing is, when I heard Bad Out of Hell and I saw the band live in America and Australia, I thought, how the hell are they ever going to follow that album? And I must tell you, honestly, it's you've more than followed it up. It's I think it's surpassed Bad Out of Hell in every way. It's, to me, to describe it would be exhilarating music, really.
Thanks a lot. Well, that was the whole thing. I sat down and I felt unbelievable pressure when I was writing it, because that's what I wanted to do. I just really wanted to top Bat Out of Hell, and I wanted to make it more than Bat Out of Hell. And I knew that was real hard, but I just worked unbelievably and just very feverishly. And like you say, I felt real possessed. And I agree with you. I mean, I'm so proud of the result. I think, from a writing point of view, and I know in terms of production and the sound, the playing, I just think it does go further than Bat Out of Hell. I think it's even more feverish and more dynamic, and to me, it's more passionate, and it gets me more excited. I think it's a more excitable record, and it's sexier, and it's more violent in a good way. It's not like violent in a bad way, but it has that power to it, and I was real happy with it. I couldn't believe it, but it did come out the way I wanted it to, and it's real satisfying, when I listen to it.
Went to the movies, saw an old black and white film, and there I saw beauty, a girl that could break my will. When I saw her, I was thunderstruck, and I cursed the hand of fate. Anachronisms have no luck when they're a few decades late. Oh, how I wish she were mine, but I was born out of time. Oh, how I really wish she were my girl. It's not meant to be, but that ain't stopping me. Ooh, I love you, Merle. She were mine, but I was born out of time. Oh, how I really wish she were my girl. It's not meant to be, but that ain't stopping me.